No problem. And then Director Murphy, she apparently abstained in items 6 and 7. And I wasn't there, so I don't know if that's correct.
Yeah, she has me down as recusals for 7. And I did vote on 6 because we'd done some work on that parcel, but it'd been about 12 years ago. So that was outside the 2-year window. So I went ahead and voted on that one because I can, but 7 was a different story. So that was the one I recused myself from.
Okay. Yeah.
Director Murphy she did recuse herself on both 6 and 7. I remember that.
Not recuse.
I didn't mean recuse. I meant abstain.
Yeah, and part of that was I got cut off in the discussion.
Okay. Okay, so that one sentence then, Don, needs to be moved below. It's in 6, but it needs to be in 7.
Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Good morning, President Balin. This is Lisa Westbrook. I'm filling in for Melissa today. And I believe we've got everybody logged in that needs to be logged in. So I believe we can go ahead and start calling this meeting to order.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, good morning, everyone. For that glorious rain. I'm getting an echo here. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm just going to do a test and turn myself on mute and see, is anybody else hearing that echo before we launch into the meeting? Oh, it's gone now. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And I hope everybody enjoyed that glorious, glorious rain. It was clearly just spectacular. It's a beautiful day today. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of Tuesday, October 26th in 2021 at 9 a.m. And Lisa, would you please call the roll?
Yes, the roll call is as follows. Director Balin.
Here.
Director Boatwright.
Here.
Director Kern.
Here.
Director Murphy.
Here.
And Director Ringen.
Here.
All 5 board members are present.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Well, let's put ourselves on mute and please join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so let's move to the consent calendar. I believe we have some amendments in order. So Lisa, would you please read the 2 items on the consent calendar? Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
Did you do the public forum first?
Yes, you're correct. Thank you. It's just right in front of me here. Okay. All right. I'd like to open up the public forum. We would like to welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend the meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. So is Corey with us? And if so, Corey, is there any member of the public that would like to address the board?
Yes, and not at this time.
Thank you. Okay, so we will close off the public forum and we will now move into the consent calendar. And Lisa, would you please read those items?
Item number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting of October 12th, 2021, and special board meetings of October 8th, 2021, October 14th, 2021, and October 18th, 2021. Item number 2, investment report as of September 30th, 2021.
And thank you. And at this time, would there be anyone that would like to pull one of these items? Jesse, would you like to pull that item so that we can amend it?
Yes, that would be appropriate. I'm not a board member. But yes, I do. There is some cleanup that needs to be taken care of on the minutes for October 12th. So if somebody else would like to pull that, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Director Ringen.
You're on mute, Ron.
Stupid me. Too much apparatus here for an old guy. Any rate, I would like to pull the investment report, please.
Would you
Number 2.
please, and would you please pull item number 1 also so we can correct those minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I also pull number 1.
Okay, thank you. Didn't catch that. Okay, well, let's take care of the minutes. I believe we were talking about it before the meeting, but maybe Don, would you please read back what we had worked on?
I'll see if I get this right, Jesse, but apparently we've got the language in item 7 that should be in item 6. So we simply need to move, and I'm not looking at it, I don't have this with me, but is that about right, Jesse?
It's the sentence in item 6 where Director Kearns recuses himself, but he recuses himself from number 7, not number 6. So that sentence needs to be moved from agenda item 6 into the very top line of agenda item number 7 to show that Director Kearns recused himself at the very beginning of item 7.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
That's correct.
Lisa, did you write that down for me, please?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then go ahead, Director Ringen, with your item 2.
I guess this is directed mostly to Steve Sheffield, but this is just information for the rest of my fellow board members. I read through the entire investment report. Why? What a waste of time. I thought that the report was included for review by the board of directors because there was some sort of pertinent info that we needed to know. But no, it was all positive, and it's a great report. I mean, there's nothing in there that I could see that's out of line. I don't think it's our job to get down in the minutiae and stuff like that. And I just, that was a big waste of my time. So I guess I've got a suggestion, and that suggestion would be, thank you for including all of that information. I mean, that's true transparency. I think that's really good. And I think that if a board member or the public had a problem or a concern, having that included in the agenda or in that agenda item is a very positive thing to do and right thing to do. But what I would like to see happen is in the summary at the beginning of the item, somewhere and in a spot that can be easily spotted, that you have already completely evaluated the report and you feel that it's adequate, good, moving in the right direction, whatever you want to say. And that if we wish to review it ourselves personally, that's fine. but if we don't want to, you're giving it its blessing. So that way we don't do something like what I did over the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ringen. So you would like something, if I understand what you're saying, before Steve speaks, just I, Steve Sheffield, testify that this is true and correct, and that we're in the black, something like that?
Something like that, right? I mean, I don't want to come up with wording because there may be something really good, but yeah, and then that way we'll know. I mean, we're not paid we're not paid anything, but we're not paid to do that, to review stuff like that. That's staff's job. That's why they're there. And any rate, that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, would you like to comment?
Sure. Good morning, Director. Steve Sheffield, your Finance Director. First of all, I want to apologize, Director Ringen, that you felt you wasted your time. That was not the purpose for this. I thought I was perfectly clear 3 months ago when I presented the first investment report that this is by board adopted policy. We are required to have an investment policy, which was adopted several years, or at least a couple years ago. And in the staff report, again, I'm more than open to changing the staff report or presenting whatever information, but pursuant to existing policy, the board, a quarterly investment report shall be prepared that includes a complete description of the portfolio, types of investments, issuers, maturity dates, par values, and current market values of each component of the portfolio, list of transactions, including funds managed for the district, and the report shall include all items listed in section 53646 of the California Government Code. The report includes a certification that all investments executed since the last report have been made in full compliance with the policy, and the district can meet its expenditure requirements for the next 6 months. Directly under that discussion, the total combined value is on there and everything else. So again, this is being presented not only in accordance with TUD's policy, which the board at any time can feel free to make revisions to that policy if they so desire. However, we are also dictated by California Government Code section related to investments. So Jesse would have to sign off on that as well. So again, I apologize. I put it under consent just for that reason, that any board member, any member of the public, anyone else can see we're complying fully with government law, and it provides full transparency as to our investments since we've started this new investment account. You know, again, just because something's in consent, I don't think the board members have to read every word or go through it. It's included for those who so desire. But I'm open to any suggestions. It's not really, I don't feel my role to evaluate the investments. I would bring to the board's attention any concerns I have. We can bring in our investment advisor, who we have, you know, hired to do so at any time. He's more than welcome to do that. But I appreciate your comments. I'm sorry you feel that way, but again, from Jesse, please chime in. From my perspective, we're complying with not only district policy, but state law as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the report.
So before we go to Jesse, I don't think you heard what I said. I didn't say you did anything wrong, bad, out of line, anything else. What I did say is that there was many pages that I reviewed, and it would have been real nice to know up in the summary before we got into that report that I don't know how it could be worded. That's where we'd have to lean on Jesse for information on that. But it'd be real nice to know that it had already passed muster. And if the board members want to go back through and review it, we can certainly do it because you put it all in there, which, like I said, was good. That's full transparency. But it would have been nice to know that there was nothing out of line. And there was no reason for me to spend hours reading all that and trying to figure out what was going on. That's not really my job unless I've got a problem with it or a question.
Yeah, Director Ringen, I appreciate your comments. We'll definitely get some clarifying language in there. But I would think that by way of it being in the consent calendar is an indication that there isn't a problem with it. Otherwise, it would be under the regular business. But that being said, we'll get some clarifying language in there up front, because I know you're a man of who pays attention to every detail, and so we'll get that in there for you.
Thank you very much.
You betcha.
And just a question, that's going to show up quarterly, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, pursuant to our policy, that is to be presented to the board and to the public on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. So
At a minimum, some agencies do it monthly.
yeah. And so just having had that discussion, I think that puts it on everybody's radar that'll be showing up every 3 months on the consent calendar.
Yeah, and it was there. This is the second time we've done that. Thank you.
Jesse, did you have anything to add?
No, no, I don't at this time, President Balin. I think what Don Perkins has suggested is a remedy for the situation. You know, perhaps a very brief staff report can simply disclose that that staff has noted no issues and that this is on the consent calendar for public transparency purposes, but no real review by the board is you know, the board may review it if they wish, but it is not going to be covered in detail during the board meeting, something along those lines.
Thank you. Director Ringen, is that acceptable then? That language is worked on, and so that the reading is just background material and it stays in the consent calendar and we can expect it.
Absolutely. I mean, having that amount of information is great, and it is true transparency. But you know, if everything's fine and good, I see any reason for those of us that don't have a lot of time and don't want to go through something like that, why we'd want to do that. So anyway, yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good discussion. Corey, is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on these two items?
Not at the time, no.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Kearns. Any further discussion? None? Okay. Lisa, would you please call for the roll?
Yes, for the roll for the consent calendar, Director Balin.
Yes, I meant for the vote. Yes, thank you. Yes, aye.
Director Boatright.
Aye.
Director Kearns.
Aye.
Director Murphy.
Aye.
And Director Ringen.
Yes.
Approved 5-0.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's good that we have the information as background, and then that's good and transparent too. So, all right, let's move to regular business. And Lisa, would you please read the first item?
Regular business, item number 3, budget report and balance sheet for first quarter ending September 30th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Steve.
Good morning, me again. So this one's considerably shorter. You only have 3 pages, so hopefully that didn't cause any grief. And maybe I should have said as well that, you know, on the staff reports, we start off with staff's recommendation. And I know sometimes the board doesn't necessarily agree with that, but you know, for my items, it's recommended the board accept and file this report. If there was something more significant, such as maybe needing to revise the budget or concerns with investments or whatever, hopefully I would identify it there. But that said, I have a very short presentation. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully I'll get this okay. So are you all now seeing the big blue screen?
Yes.
Budget report, September 30th, yes? All right.
Yes.
So let me get right back here. Staff is prepared. This board packet breaks it down into further. See on this screen is just purely the individual line items. As has consistently been shown for several years now, the columns going across, the first column is the current board adopted total budget for the complete 12 months. The fiscal activity is for the 3 months ending September 30th. A variance between those two, and then the percent remaining. Now, almost none of our revenues or expenses are earned or spent on an equal basis every month or every quarter. We have seasonal differences, we have timing differences. But if they were doing that, that percent remaining, we would expect that to be 75%, meaning there's 9 months left out of the year. It's real hard for me to get, too overly concerned or excited at this point. It's only been 3 months since we started the new year. So unless there was something really dramatic going on, again, for the first 3 months ending, it's in line with expectations. There aren't any specific items outside of the other ones we've already been talking about. And if you go through here, you can see the total revenues for the first quarter were approximately 6.3 million. All the amounts shown here are in thousands. And when you look at some of the larger variances like property tax, that's really a timing issue. We tend to get property taxes approximately 3 times a year. They kind of tie in with when the property taxes are due, installment 1, installment 2. But, really, if you're looking at the utility billing and the property taxes and those, again, there are timing differences in here. Everything's pretty much in line with what we budgeted for. The next slide deals with the combined expenditures. Total combined expenditures so far were 3.6 million. The biggest difference is, if you look at it in there, again, keep in mind 75% would be what would be remaining. But first of all, the first line item, the personnel, we've had a lot this year, a lot of CIP labor that's using our own force account. And so that's being charged directly to the projects and the capital improvements in process rather than expenses. And so far that's totaled approximately $232,000. There's also some unfilled positions accounting for that. And the remaining difference is, while it makes up, quite a few different types of expenses, are really seasonal and timing in nature as well. The next slide I don't have in your board packet, but I like to include in this one, and it's just kind of a gut check, is where we are from a net perspective. And if you take the revenues less the expenses shown, there's 2.7 million shown as that net. So far, for the first 3 months, we've spent 1.6 million on CIP. We have debt principal this year of 200,000. So that leaves us with a $900,000 balance as of September 30th. But keep in mind, our total adopted CIP for the whole year was, I believe, in the neighborhood of $12 million. So we're on track with each of those. I really don't, have anything to point out other than that. I'm, comfortable. There's no need to revise the budget at this point. It's really, again, a matter of consistent with the board adopted financial policy to present the report to the board. And in your packet, in addition to the budget to actual, you have a balance sheet, which are the assets and liabilities to that thing. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Director Balin has her hand up for a comment.
Director Balin.
Yes, thank you. Great, Steve. Very clear as usual. Could you please go back to the there you go. Wait, the next slide. Yes, the utilities, number 85. Could you refresh my memory on what exactly is included in utilities?
Sure, let me get to my detail here. So by far and away, obviously, one of TUD's top 5 biggest expenses is electricity. So in that total there, we have 2 classifications. We have one for electricity, and then we have one for what we refer to as communications. And the communications involves things like the SCADA alarm system, the internet provided for those sites. So in this case, utilities so far, we have 71% remaining. So the utilities is a little bit above budget, if you were, over budget in there. But again, the price of electricity gone up and down between the TPPA as well as PG&E, but the vast majority of it. So we're looking at 143,000 so far on utilities, and that is 119 of it is electricity and 24,000 is communications. Does that help?
Thank you. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any other directors? Director Ringen.
Yeah, going along with what President Balin just brought up, it would be interesting to know, and I'm not trying to give you more work than you already have, but as we take, as we consolidate, and as we take treatment plants offline, because we're, like I said, combining, it would be very interesting to see how that affects that the electric bills. Because you're right, it is real high. Every time I go through the claim summary, I just about fall out of my chair when I see how much we have to spend for electric from both PG&E and TPPA.
I agree. Consolidation, I believe, will ultimately save the district and the ratepayers money in the long run. It's just a matter of getting the infrastructure to be able to consolidate. And I think we're very fortunate to be part of the TPPA. That saves the ratepayers significant money compared to the PG&E rates.
And if I might add, I don't know if you know this, Director Ring and the rest of the board, but Travis does an excellent job of tracking all of our electrical accounts, both, and they're separated by PG accounts and TPPA accounts. And several times a year, he'll catch something that's askew, and he brings it to whoever's attention, and we get things resolved. And several times a year, I refer to him with questions too. So at some point, I kind of want to see a report on that as far as our power consumption in the operations report. Just haven't quite figured out where and how to do that. But yes, Travis does a great job with that.
Yeah, thanks, Don, for bringing that up. And for all the directors' information, that being accountants, we're detail oriented and we keep spreadsheets on everything. Our electric accounts, we have well over 200, I believe, close to 200 different meters at various sites. And Travis and myself, we track those on meter by meter basis. We're constantly looking over TPPA and PG&E as far as them reading the meters, whether they qualify for TPPA. And yeah, we can provide reports by specific meters, by areas, by regions. And again, in our system, it's a critical and significant part of our operating expense. It's the nature of the beast and what we're doing until technology changes or we're able to consolidate and do those. But thanks, Don. Director Boatwright, I see you at the top, and Director Murphy, I see you as well. Director Boatwright?
Good morning. Steve, I was wondering, and maybe I'm sure it's incorporated in part of this, it's just can't see it. I was wondering about a CIP budget review, CIP items and how we're doing on that. Is that part of an upcoming report, or how is that done?
Well, thank you for asking that, because, we've had, between different board members, between different general managers, we've gone all over the place. I think most recently, Don's smiling, but most recently we've gone to a separate CIP report rather from the budget. when we talk about budget here, you know, when the board adopts the budget, one, you're adopting the operating budget, and that does not include CIP. Part of the total budget of operations and the overall budget is CIP. So again, I think because CIP has additional interest, we've kind of in recent years gone to a report on operations, meaning this report I have for you today. And then a separate agenda item would be to do a status report on CIP. For me, my purpose here, again, I included this 1.6 million, but in the past, Dawn, Lisa, us, whoever would provide that detailed breakdown that the board adopted by individual project as to the status, whether it's started, whether it's in process, whether it's completed. So I like the idea of having that as a separate report. I did not include that today, and I think there's some clarification. I know we've talked about it, Dawn, as far as continuing to do that. The board seems to really like Lisa Westbrook's format, where we had kind of color coded, whether it was in process or delayed or whatever. So I would anticipate, yes, we'll be bringing a separate CIP report back to the board. Don, anything more?
No, that's well said. And yeah, the format is still in question. I believe this board you liked the report that you saw during the CIP presentation. I think you all liked that format. There was a combination of color codes and I think there were some budget numbers in there, whether or not we were in budget or outside budget, I think.
Anything else, Director Boatwright?
No, that'll cover it. Just looking forward to a review of the CIP items. So, thank you.
Understood. Director Murphy.
Just wanted to, I have one question and one comment. So the question, could you again state how much we spend on electricity per year?
The budgeted amount for, let me see here. Our budget for this year for electricity is approximately $400,000.
Okay. And then my comment just has to do with what I brought up last week, which was when we are looking at developers creating infrastructure that's going to get passed on to TUD, I would like us to see in the future if there is, it would have been nice to do it on this one, but it's future is where we're at now, which is to have consideration of if there's going to be pumping stations and excess electrical use, to have alternative sources of electrical production put in on the site. So basically, like on that one, solar panels or something like that to augment. Either they pay a fee to deal with that extra electricity, or that they create a system in which electricity is provided. So that's just my 2 cents on knowing that electricity is a huge part of our expenses of any water district. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Murphy. Following up from the last meeting when you brought that up, I brought it up to a few of the superintendents thinking about future projects and how we can incorporate the use of alternative energy like solar generation. So you're going to now see that in just about every project that we come up with, and how we can incorporate solar power. But I'll need to meet with you offline, or a few of you offline, make sure I'm hitting the mark on that.
Excellent. Yeah, and I just think on the projects that are coming into the system, we should be able to require that as well.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up. And so unless there's any additional questions, again, we're asking the board accept and file this quarterly budget report.
Well, thank you, Steve. If there's no further comments or questions from the board, I will ask for public comment. Corey, is there any public comment?
Not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you. So, yes, Director Murphy.
I'm happy to make a motion to file and accept and file.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, any other from the public on this?
Not at the time.
Okay, well then, Lisa, would you please call for the vote?
Yes, President Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Regan.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Steve. Lisa, would you
All right,
please?
Oh, yes. Item number 4.
Thank you.
Discussion and consideration of possibly revising the Board of Directors Policy Manual section, election of officers.
Okay, good morning. This is Don Perkins, your interim general manager. President Balin asked that I put this on the agenda, that it be on the agenda, and Melissa and I, mostly Melissa, put all the information together for the packet. But just in a nutshell, a couple of years ago, there was a process by which the board voted for their election of officers, and it was pretty straightforward process, which is in your agenda packet. And for whatever reason, the previous general manager thought this current way you're doing it would be easier. Well, in I think a couple of our opinions, it's anything but easier. So anyway, it's on this agenda for your discussion and consideration of revising it, going back to the way it was previously. So I'll turn it over to you, unless you have a question for me.
No,
Director
thank you, Don. Director Ringen, go ahead.
well, first of all, I want to thank you, President Balin, and our interim GM for getting this on our meeting today. As a little background, for years, 25, getting close to 30, but anyway, 25 years for sure. TUD board always would have a nomination for president. And then if there was a second, then there would be a vote. And the same thing would occur with the vice president. And throughout those years, it was always a system to make it fair, where the officers would, if you want to call it that, the president, vice president, and the other board members would revolve through so that everybody became vice president or president at some point in time during their time on the board. There had never been in that entire time a board member that was president for 2 years in a row. That was like hands off, shouldn't be done, and so on. And it worked well. It was smooth. It ran along without any hitch at all. And in December of, trying to remember what year it was, 2019, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 2019. Maybe it was 2018. The board, through full consensus, well, let me back up a little bit. So when the Gang of Four came in 2013 and 14, was the first time ever that the board president and vice president were taken out of rotation, and there was like almost an attempt to take over TUD by these 4 new directors, and so at any rate, that got us out of order. So getting back to that December of 2018 or 19, I don't remember which year it was. The board, through full consensus, agreed to go back to that way of doing things, of rotation. And I nominated Rucker to be president because it was about his turn. And it was seconded, and he became president. And then one of the other board members, I don't remember who it was, nominated me for vice president, and I was elected to be vice president. So the next year, by this time, Pattison is on board. Well, there was full control through having Rucker as president by Pattison, full control. And he knew he did not want to lose that control, and he really didn't want me to be president. So that's how this cockamamie deal came up. He dreamed up, and it was really done, in my opinion, maliciously. And so Rucker became, for the first time ever, a two-term president. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, I just want my fellow board members to think about the way that the existing system that Pattison put in place works, is that the board members rank each other, and then that ranking is put out to public. Do we all want to know what, do we want the public to see how each feels about the other board member? I think not. I mean, it never bothered me because I got pretty thick skin, but there's some people that probably don't appreciate that or wouldn't appreciate that. So anyway, I just thought a little background would be helpful as we get into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ringen.
We have Director Kearns, Director Murphy, and then Director Balin with their hands up for comment. We'll start with Director Kearns first.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there was a couple of things there, Ron, I would respectfully disagree with you on. First of all, Director Rucker was not wild about being president 2 times in a row. In fact, he didn't really want to do that. However, we were still in the middle of the PG&E negotiations were just getting kicked off at that time. And I know I've known Director Rucker for probably 30 years. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that I have never known anyone that is so connected in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., in both places, as Director Rucker is with his political contacts. And that is why there was some of us on the board that felt that it would be beneficial to TUD to have him as president as a second year. And we were able to persuade him to agree to be president a second time. That was after General Manager Pattison had instituted the new election of officers scenario there that we're looking to replace today. But I just wanted to clarify that and make sure that there wasn't any, that I know of, anything, that any personal vendetta against you or anybody else, Ron. So I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you.
Director Murphy.
Yeah, I just want to understand what I read in the packet versus what I just heard from Ron. So clarification here. So from what I see in the packet, there is no rotation. That doesn't, I didn't notice that in what's written in the packet, any sort of rotation. What it looks like in the packet is that each year in December, we have a open election and elect the president and vice president. And that the only stipulation is that the president can't be president for more than 2 terms. Is that 2 years? Am I reading this correctly? Am I missing the part about the rotation in there? Because I don't see it.
I'll take a quick stab at it, but some of the other directors have a little more tenure in this for me, but I think it's more or less an unwritten rule that each director should have an opportunity to act as a vice president, president in their term. And I think that is, they so wish to do so. I think it was sort of an unwritten rule. I don't know for sure though.
But correct, right? So it is not, if it's not written, it's not a rule. And it isn't in the packet. So there is nothing about, in the packet, there's nothing about rotation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, that was, because, anything that's unwritten is unenforceable and it's just,
Yeah, no, I
what
get
we're
you.
voting on. What we're voting on is what's on the paper.
I get you. I just, unwritten rules is a thing of the past, I think, unfortunately, But-
Well, not a thing in the past. It's what we're voting on is what the written word is on the page. And I'm just double checking that I'm understanding it correctly, that there's nothing about a rotation written in there. And if that's something we'd like to see, then we would need to amend this.
And I guess we're open to that, but thank you.
All right, we have Director Balin and then Director Boatright.
Yes, Director Murphy, that is correct. Director Ringen was giving a background explanation, and you are correct in terms of what is in the board packet. And the question is, do we continue with ranking all 5 of our fellow directors in order, or do we go back to what was the older policy from 2013? And as you said, there's a 2-year consecutive year cap. And so I would like to comment on this because it seems to me this is a kind of, the way we have it now is a little bit complicated. All we need is a first and second. I understand and also with Director Kern, sometimes you need 2 years just to provide some continuity. That's already built into the older policy, but it just felt like this newer policy, in my opinion, is, well, it reminds me of, picking kids for teams. And it just seems like, well, wait a minute, we just need a first and a second. We need somebody to nominate for a president, somebody for vice president, and then we vote. And how we rank people is kind of beside the point. So that's why I brought it up, and that is what is before the board. And again, we are not talking about a vote on rotation. We are voting either to continue with this ranking system or going back to the policy, which is the first and second.
There's also the opportunity, though, to there's a third way that if somebody felt compelled, that the unwritten part could get written, right? Because we could instead move for a different thing that's not one of these 2 options.
Correct. We can amend. Correct. Thank you. Director Boatright.
All right, thank you. Couple clarifying things. It says the 2 terms being elected. Isn't there a 3rd term available though by 4/5 majority? Or is that on the 2nd term? Okay.
I'm not aware of a 3rd term. Is anybody aware of a 3rd term?
I thought maybe that, 4/5 majority.
I mean, a 3rd.
Just quorum referred to after the 2nd term. Under the old system, a board member could self-nominate for either office.
Yes.
Okay. And then the 2 elections are actually, one is for president and then a separate one for vice president.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to point out that in the summary of the staff report, the last sentence says, according to the 2013 policy, no officer shall serve more than 2 consecutive years in the same position within their term unless elected by a 4/5 vote by the board.
I don't think that's in the body of it, though.
Excuse me, Jesse had his hand up.
I put my hand back down because Don Perkins just read what I was going to read. It is in the staff report that way, that no officer shall serve more than 2 consecutive terms in the same position within their term unless elected by a 4/5 vote of the board.
Go ahead, Director Bailey.
Director Balin has a comment.
Thank you. And so if this present board decided, let's say, to adopt the 2013 policy, we could amend that, we could continue with that last sentence, or we could remove that, just reminding the board that we don't have to adopt that verbatim.
Correct.
Director Ringen.
Well, I guess it's not time yet. I was gonna make a motion, but I think it has to go to the public first, right?
No, you can make a motion and then we can go to the public. Jesse's nodding.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we do go back to the 2013, re-adopt it, and then amend that for a some sort of adequate wording, which will probably have to come from Jesse for rotation of board members. So that would be my motion.
Is there a second on that motion? Ron, I would be willing to second that, but leave out the rotation. I think that was not part of the original discussion.
I'm good with that if everybody else is.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I said I'm good with that if everybody else is.
Okay,
Can we get a restatement of the motion?
Yeah. Yes, it sounded like you amended it, Director Ringen. So please restate the motion.
Okay, well, my motion is to return to the 2013 method of elections of president and vice president for TUD, and as written in our agenda item, or presented in our agenda item.
thank you, Director Ringen, and thank you, Director Boatwright, for asking for clarification on that as well. With that, is there a second? I will second that. Is there any further discussion? Any amendments to this that we haven't discussed? Okay, Corey, is there any discussion from the public before I call for a vote?
Not that I'm seeing at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll bring it back. And Lisa, would you please call for the vote?
Yes, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatwright,
He's muted.
Can I be called last?
let's see, Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
You're muted, Director Murphy. There you go.
I'll rotate to the end as well.
Director Ringen.
Yes,
All right, back to Director Boatright,
Abstain?
Director Murphy,
Aye.
all right, passes 4 and 1 abstain.
Thank you, Lisa. And I appreciate this, my fellow board members. I think this will just make it pretty easy without this big elaborate ranking system. Okay, with that, we'll go on to the next item. Lisa?
Item number 5, operational update on the water and wastewater departments for September 2021.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rich Pitcher, the collections superintendent. Just wanted to go over a few things from last month and then open it up to discussion or open up to questions if you have any for me. I'd like to point out page number 2, the raw water division. They spent a lot of time last month getting ready for the main Tuolumne Canal outage. And as you can see on page 6 shows a few items that they had to do. And I'd like to point out that they did this without the temps this year. They usually have a crew of about 8 temporary hires that help them out with the main Tuolumne Canal outage as well as the other ditch outages. So the distribution, construction, maintenance departments, they really stepped up and helped them out and were able to get everything done being down staff. I'd like to move to page 7 for the distribution division and point out under new water main, the Ridgeline Road Ponderosa Hills project. This was a project funded by the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians. And the original cost estimate of this project was around $700,000. So they were able to fund that project. It helped us out in a couple ways, which improve fire flow, cut down on call outs, cut down on leaks. This project replaced about 3,500 feet of 4-inch pipe with 8-inch pipe, and also installed 4 hydrants. And this is phase 3 of a 3-phase project. So this was a really good project and to get done. Under the wastewater collections division, I'd like to, under other activities, on the Twain Hart wastewater treatment plant, we were able to put in a new automatic transfer switch up there. So that plant, in case of power outages, now instead of an operator having to go up there and manually start the generator, manually reset some switches, everything's automatic up there. So that saves quite a bit of time for operators to go up there either during the day or also on call outs. So it allows us, the operators, to do other things and also saves the district some operating expenses. So finally, under the employment division, I'd just like to point out that we were able to hire 5 new employees in the month of September. One was a wastewater operator, so they're now fully staffed. So that's a huge help down there. We hired 1 in customer service, 2 employees in water distribution, and 1 in the raw water distribution. So That's a quick summary. Does anybody have any questions? Director Kearns?
Yeah, Rich, thank you very much for that. I'm just curious, what were the grades of each of those, the two water hires and the one on the wastewater side?
So I know the wastewater side was a grade 2 operator, and I do not know the grades on the distribution, but I do see Matt Nolte's online, so that's his department, so he would know those grades. Matt, do you have that information?
Yeah, hi, good morning. Both of those positions were level entry positions, so they are working to acquire their distribution licenses.
Right on. Good. That's good. Train from the ground up. I like it. And then one other question. I hope somebody, maybe Glenn or somebody, can answer this. What was our accumulated rainfall total through yesterday afternoon? If you guys have it available, I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So I thought somebody might ask about that. So at the regional plant, we accumulated 4 inches of rain during this past storm.
Nice. 4 inches. That's
Yep.
That's pretty good rain for this country. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Director Boatwright?
Yeah, good morning, Rich. Hey,
Morning.
I was looking at the quartz reservoir levels for month of September, and
Yes.
the previous 4 years, the 2020, I can see that, but 2019, 18, and 17, those all, could you go back through and verify those levels? Seems like a tremendous amount of carryover in a couple of them. And
I'm looking at this right now. So are you, so 2020, you have 39.1. Is that what you're looking at?
I was looking at the quartz reservoir level at staff gauge at 2019 at 47 and 2017 at 50. I don't recall those 2 years being that heavy in carryover water.
Yeah. This is
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That sure looks incorrect. Because we're nearly empty, right? It's towards the end of the reclamation season, so those must be off a little bit, huh?
So yes, Director Butler, I can definitely go back and check those out and see what those levels were for 100%.
Yeah, I just don't want to see us carrying those forward if they're not correct numbers.
I agree. Yep, I will take a look at it, and if there needs to be a change, I will take care of it. Director Ringen?
First off, I want to thank staff for another really good ops report. It really allows us directors, if we feel like it, to be able to read through and see how much is going on down there at TUD, and it's pretty impressive. So I do have a few questions here real quick.
Okay.
On page 2, number 4, it states that there is a set raw water pump at Lakewood Lake.
Correct.
I did not think that we were using any water out of Lakewood anymore because of the human contact, and that means that we had to fill it up from the ditch system. And as I said in the past, I'm not too fond of that idea because of how we got caught up in that dam repair. And I guess to go along with that question is, I thought we were getting Twain Harte CSD treated water.
I'll take a stab at this one for you, Rich.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the goal. However, it was recognized pretty, clear near the end of the completion of the repair of that dam, the Lakewood Dam, that we better have a provision in case of emergency to be able to use that water if need be. You're correct. We have always, shouldn't say that, but for the last 20 years, we've been getting treated water from Twain Harte CST. However, we also used to augment that water with liquid water traditionally, also for 20 plus years, probably 30 years or so. But yeah, we had hoped the goal was to not use that water, but leave the infrastructure there just in case of emergency. Well, lo and behold, we had to have a spring outage, right? Just last spring, unprecedented, first ever spring outage. COVID's happened, census is up, people are working remotely. We have a lot of people in town, and our demand was simply high. And we had no choice but to quickly put a pump in place to use that water out of Lakewood last spring. And the same is true today. The demand is just up. It's unexplainably up, other than what, like I said, I think our community, there's more people here in our community than we realize, and our demand is up. And once again, we had to use that water. So thankfully it's there.
So that means that we did not relinquish the water rights to Sullivan Creek that feeds into that.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Well, I mean, it makes sense. I just, that really surprised me because I thought we had finally broke that connection with Lakewood for safety reasons, you know, water quality and so on. But anyway, I understand the problem. Then a question which I would have liked to have asked Eric Hall is 6 and 7. Rich kind of touched on it, which I appreciate, about not being able to hire any help, extra help for the ditch outage. That was disappointing. But then that draws me into my next part of the question, and that is what like I said, I would have liked to have asked Eric Hall because he would know firsthand, is overall, how did the week go as far as repairs and cleanup and all that of the ditch system?
Well, again, I think I can answer for Eric if he's not on. I don't see him. Of course, you know, Eric reports to me regularly on the main canal outage. And before I answer, I want to kind of go back in time. I forget how long ago I said this, but it wasn't too many years ago. We lost the availability of our the hand crews, the baseline hand crews. For every year of TUD's existence, we've had the hand crews and baseline available to us for this type of work, mostly in the spring, but this type of work and for emergencies. Well, that we are no longer have that benefit. And I remember telling this board that that was going to be painful. It's going to be expensive because the work still needs to be done. And that's a very efficient crew of about 18 folks for 6 to 8 weeks. So that work still needs to be done. And so, you know, this took some time, but over the last few years with the restructuring of the operations department, the new departments, and the added staff, there was an agreement, nothing written down, but you know, that in times of needs like this, we're going to have to pull from other departments, full-time staff from other departments to go help out whichever department needed a hand. In this case, we're talking about the ditch. So that is working beautifully. I really can't be more proud of the effort that some of our folks are having to do with lending a hand, you know, to whatever department, in this case, the ditch department. So yeah, that's what's happening. We're having to borrow from internal staff from different crews to make this whole. Now, how is the week going? Eric would probably be a little more able to answer this question, but you know, not as normal. We had, you know, a heck of a rainstorm there towards the end. not having crews, so it was limited. We did a fair amount of work, cleaned all of the ditches, but not a lot of real good maintenance, solid maintenance like we've done in years past. But I think all in all, Eric's pretty proud of the work that he got done and that we've done, considering all of that.
Great. I know that last year TUD brought back one of the experienced ditch tenders, and he's providing training and so on for the group. So that's really a plus too.
It sure
All right,
is.
then on page 3, we have a lake levels, reservoir levels, and my question on that is, with Lyons getting as low as it did this year, did TUD run into taste and odor issues?
Don, have you
no,
heard?
again,
Trevor's
no.
not here, so.
Right. No, again, I would have heard about this. We pay close attention. We're really worried about this. We did some extra testing right at Lyons when we got, to this level. We wanted to monitor the DO level and see if there was any odors out there. So none of that proved to be too terribly bad as far as DO is concerned, as far as I know. And I can tell you that I don't recall hearing reports of odors or taste issues in the upper basin system.
Well, that's good news, because as I would listen to how it was dropping, I was starting to get a little concerned for you folks, because that's when it really starts to get sticky. On let's see. Oh, page 4. There's a bullet point, or there's a mention of the scenic view well being fired up and used, and it's I believe for water for flushing the wastewater system. It didn't really explain what it was, but it said recycle system or something along that line. Was that what the water was used for?
So Director Regan, that water was used for supplementing quartz, another way to get some more water down to the quartz reservoir for irrigation. Okay.
Well, anytime the raw water can be used for flushing the wastewater system, I would be in full support of that rather than using treated water. On page 5, you guys got into reporting on sampling, and I've got 2 questions there. I see that lead was tested for, and I guess what I want to know about that is what's happened with that school water testing that we were mandated to do? Did that get taken care of and off our plate?
Yes, it sure did. As we were required by the state, we had to get the schools on a sampling program. I believe that was a one-time occurrence. Angel's not on. She wasn't asked to be on, but she could answer this question better. But yes, that all happened. And as far as I can recall, that was a few years ago. All of those samples came back good. Just so you know, I mean, if they're on our system, which most of those schools are, if not all of them, then they are protected in the same way that all of the other homes would be protected from our water. So therefore, I would expect them to be in good shape, free of any lead and copper.
Yeah, well, I could only agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, if the water's good coming out of the treatment plants, then it certainly is going to be good when it gets there, because we don't have any lead pipes. But what I was concerned about is that came into being when that mandate came down, is that we'd get it in the neck if lead was found, and the lead would be in the pipes in the school. And so I was pretty concerned about that. And I'm glad to hear it's behind us, done and over with, and I didn't hear anything bad about it. The next thing is PFAS. And I noticed on page 14, now PFAS, I believe, is mentioned on page 5 too. But some of the staff went to training on that, and hopefully we're still coming up with minimal PFAS in our water system.
So the short answer is all of our water systems, source water, do not contain any PFAS in them. We did some baseline sampling a few years ago. Angel, again, would be better served to answer this question. And we are no longer required to monitor for PFAS in our source water systems, virtually because of the location of our source water. They are near groundwater systems in the city or in the valley near some sort of a contaminant source, which we are not. So that's on the water treatment side. Now on the wastewater side, and Director Boatwright was here for the ground movement on this on the wastewater side too. We are required to sample in 3 locations, right? In our inflow water to the treatment plant, our effluent to the treatment plant, and our solids. I think those are the 3 locations. And we just shared some of this results with Director Boatwright at his request. And yes, there are some constituents of the PFAS in those. I don't know if it's all 3 of those locations or at least in a couple of them for sure. But there's no regulatory requirement at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, that's a big deal in a lot of areas, and it shows up in firefighting material and Teflon pots and pans, and anyway, so that's good news. Then I've got one more quick question and a comment, and that's on page 7. I don't know how you guys do it. Underground service alerts, USAs, 778 of those. Are you guys getting any cooperation whatsoever from PG&E?
I'm sure Matt can chime in and Rich as well. But boy, you're not kidding. It's very frustrating for me and our department. That is a tremendous amount of work that we were not doing a few years ago with the same crew. So how they're doing it is, they're committed to doing their job. That's a safety compliance. That's a way to keep our infrastructure safe, PG&E crews safe, and their contractors safe. So I don't know about how the cooperation is going. I'll let Matt jump in there.
So Director Ringen, really quick before Matt jumps in, yeah, they can be overwhelming at some time. And that just to let you know, that's 778 just for the water department. The collections department, if you look at that report, I believe another 325. So we're over 1,000 for the month.
Good
and yeah, we're not getting a whole lot of cooperation from PG&E on that aspect. And really, they kind of subcontracted out. So most of these are coming in from a company called Osmos. And I know the collection department, which gets obviously half of what water does. I mean, at some days we were getting 70 a day, and they're just, it is overwhelming, and it's time consuming, and it does take time away from doing other tasks. So Matt, do you have any comments as far as your department goes?
Rich, I don't have much to add. With PG&E, our relationship with them, we have multiple contacts, and they've been pretty supportive as far as and pretty responsive. But their subcontractors, like Rich spoke about, Osmos, they're pretty non-responsive. So we've had to contact them via email and through phone, and that's kind of where the majority of these locates are coming from, at least for this month.
Thank you for that. All I can say is I'm personally really proud of the TUD crews and how much they can accomplish. I don't know how you folks do it. My last thing is just a comment, and it's also on page 7. And yippee, got 61.32% of 14,246 meters switched over to radio read. You guys are on a roll. Let's get to 100%. Thank you.
I agree with you. I commented at our meeting here earlier in the week about how that number is creeping up. But let me tell you, if we were only doing 70 of those USAs a month, like we were a couple of years ago, that number would go up a little bit more.
Director Kearns, I think you were next in line, and then Boatwright.
Yeah, I just got thank you, Rich. I just got a couple of comments. First of all, those electronic read meters, yeah, that's great. As a one, I can personally attest to those. Those are paradigm shifters. On page 10, with your new pump setup there in that pump house, I just want to say that first class, that looks really nice. And as one who is currently going through some revamping of some of our stuff up the hill, I got to say, you guys did an excellent job on that, and very clean, very efficient looking, and just want to tell you I like it. And which also made me think of something I've been wanting to bring up for some time now, and just haven't done it for whatever reason. But down there at my office at Yosemite Title, right downtown Sonora, that's a popular spot, I know, for you guys for your flushing. And I see your truck out there quite a bit right outside my front door, and I see those guys a lot. And I just want to tell you how professional they are and how courteous they are, not only to me as a board member, but just general public walking up and down the street, and how they interact with the general public. And they're very good ambassadors for TUD, and I just wanted all of you guys to know that, and that I certainly appreciate it. So
thank you, Director Kearns. It warms my heart to hear you say that, but that is not by accident. It is a point of emphasis for us, and has been for the last number of years here at this district. It was actually part of a strategic plan update many years ago, and we really worked towards that. So thank you for recognizing in your comments.
Yeah, like I say, I've been meaning to bring that up for some time, and just haven't been able to do it. But those guys really do a good job, not only on their task at hand, but like I said, as ambassadors for TUD, and I'm certainly proud of them, and I hope everybody else is too. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kearns. I appreciate that, and I will forward the message to him. Director Boatwright, I believe you had your hand up next.
Yes, thank you. My question leads back to our temporary crews. So we did not hire our seasonal temporary hires this year. And if so, that was due, what caused that change?
I'll let Abby jump in there.
I'd be happy to. Hi, Director Boatwright. Yeah, this was a very challenging year for us, and continues to be in the recruitment of employees. It's not unique to TUD to be having trouble hiring right now. There's a lot of jobs out there and not enough people to that are applying, unfortunately. We have had some success in, as you saw, we hired 5 new awesome candidates in September in various divisions. But for the temporary crew, we had the lowest number of applicants I've ever seen since I've been tracking this, less than 10 applicants for something where we typically see in the upwards of 30 to 50 applicants. And when we came down to selecting, we offered the job to 3 folks. One ended up taking a full-time job elsewhere, and 2 just stopped communicating. We're not able to, that was not a successful recruitment. We have had, as Dawn mentioned, you know, with the operations department as a whole, everyone is so willing to go where they need to go as utility workers, the true sense of utility workers. So that's really awesome. But also we're working to get some other hand crews by way of contract, and at least to get a few weeks of work out of them. So we'll see how that works out this year with Eric Hall, and he can report out on that, how that's done by December, and we'll see if that's a good solution for us in the future when we have trouble finding these temporary crews.
Wow. All right, thank you. Dawn, did I hear you mention too that we're no longer getting the conservation camp crews?
That's correct. I believe it might be due to the pandemic, but Governor Newsom shut down a number of those baseline crews across the state there. So there's only a couple of them left. I think the closest one is in Susanville to us. So yes, we no longer have baseline crews available to us.
Okay. How does that affect the agreement for handling the chemicals and fire retardant from Aerotech?
Great question.
Kind of our training.
Good question.
So I'll take that, Dawn. Director Boatwright, as you're well aware of, we used to have to go out there quite often during the summertime, during fire season, and pump down that 10,000 gallon tank, bring it back to regional or a manhole somewhere in the collection system and dump that. They since have plumbed that into their lift station on site, which in turn pumps into our Columbia Sky #1 sewer lift station. So we no longer have to go out there and service those tanks.
I totally agree with that, and that reduces our labor and maybe some of the cost and effect, but basically the additional BOD and chemical load to our system, we're still handling that, even if it's done with pumps instead of, by trucking system.
Yeah, agreed. So, that's something I don't think that we have looked into, but we certainly can and see how much it impacts us. So, yeah, we can address that.
I might suggest we get a hold of that agreement. Hopefully there is an actual written agreement, and then bring that to a committee meeting later. Don't you think, Director Boatwright?
Yeah, I remember letters going back and forth. And Eric, do you recall some of that discussion as well? Anyway, a total tangent. Sorry for taking it off track, but well worth looking into. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can look into it, Director Boatwright. I remember some discussions, but I don't actually remember a written document. So we will canvass the files and see what we can find.
Thank you.
Director Murphy, you have your hand up?
Yes, it was just about a comment earlier on no taste and odor issues in the upper basin, correct? But we do acknowledge that there were taste and odor issues in the lower basin, which affected many of the customers, the Sonora area for sure.
That is correct. That's unfortunate. Almost an annual occurrence because of the effects of Phoenix Lake.
Yeah.
And just for me, it's one of the things I really worry about. If Lyons Reservoir in the future, if the climate's going to continue to change the way it is, we have warmer temperatures, less rainfall, lower water levels, it will only lend itself to potentially having algae blooms like that up there, which would be unprecedented and of horrible news itself, which is a concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussions?
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Very
guys.
thorough. Thank you. Is there any comment from the public?
Not that I see at the moment, no.
Okay. Then we'll bring it back and I'm looking for a motion to accept and file this report.
I would make that motion to accept and file the operations report.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just had a quick question. Director Boatwright, were you asking for detail within that to be looked at with the wastewater numbers prior to it being filed?
In staff, do you amend that to have staff look into air attack and their extra chemical load? Is what you're thinking?
No, I thought you had brought something up before asking about the levels of Quartz Reservoir.
Yeah, I believe staff, and just for clarity, it's worthwhile to staff to verify those numbers so that they don't get carried forward. And
Would you like that to be verified before it gets filed?
I see. I would suggest we'll verify those numbers, change them, and then resubmit this report to the full board and to the public. How's that sound? Okay.
That sounds okay. So we will withdraw then the motion in the second. Is that correct, Jesse? Okay. Okay. Lisa Westbrook, would you please read the last item, item 6?
All right, so we're not doing any motion, just to clarify for item number 5, so I don't need to do a roll call.
Correct.
Okay.
It'll come back corrected and then we'll accept it.
All right, great. Item number 6, cancellation of the November 23rd, 2021 and December 28th, 2021 regular board meeting.
Thank you. Any comment from the board on this? This is fairly straightforward because of the holidays. We typically cancel the second board meeting of each one of the months.
Yeah, this is what we normally do, correct, President Balin?
That's correct.
I'll go ahead and make the motion. I'll make the motion to cancel November 23, 2021 meeting and the December 28th, 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second? Director Murphy, is that a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Corey, any discussion from the public?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, then I'll ask Lisa to call for the vote.
Director Balin.
Aye.
Director Boatwright.
Aye.
Director Kearns.
Aye.
Director Murphy.
Aye.
And Director Ringen.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, well then before we do anything else, we will go to the communication and directors reports. Staff, is there any communication reports?
I'll be brief with my report. It's been a busy and fun-filled couple of weeks, but I think it's important to note. On the 12th, I met with Eric Johnson. I met with Brandon Meyer and John Otterson of the Falling Band of Miwoks to discuss their future plans and projects. As you know, they have a real strong need to grow their community, and of course, water and sewer infrastructure is needed. So we talked about that. On the 13th, we met with Hewitt and Pace on a partnering meeting as a prelude to the construction project out there. It was an important meeting. I almost skipped out on it to go to a county meeting, but at the last second, I felt like it was important that I attend this meeting, and I'm sure thankful I did. It was a great way to get started with Hewitt and Pace, so we all understand our roles and what potential things could come up as Hewitt experienced in the past, and how would respond to all of those things. And so it was a really good partnering meeting. I felt like it got us off to a great start. Also that day, there was on the 13th, after that meeting was a pre-construction meeting that I also attended. It went really well. On the 18th, we all went to the groundbreaking ceremony, and I just can't tell you how happy that I am, how well that went and how well it was received by the public. On the 20th, I attended the T-Stan Irwin WAC JPA meeting, and a couple of really good reports on that. I hadn't attended one of those meetings in quite a while. I was very thankful I did, and you'll most likely see me at most of those unless I can't make them. One of the reports out there that you should know is Gadiel DiMatteo, one of our associate engineers, reported out, I think it was required, a closeout report on the Phoenix project. And he just did a fantastic job with that report. Great presentation. Got lots of accolades from other people that attended that meeting. On the 22nd, I got an invite from Anthony Molina, one of our California advocates, to attend a webinar on the California climate adaptation strategies. First one of those I've attended. That was pretty interesting. I have a lot of notes in here, and offline I'd like to go over with some of you on what I got out of that and how we can move forward. One of the priorities that I think is pertinent, and there's a few, but one of them is accelerated nature-based climate solutions and strengthened climate resilience of natural systems. So I think that's pretty pertinent to Tuolumne County, so I'd like some guidance on how to move forward on that. And looking forward, another busy couple of weeks coming up. Tomorrow, some of us are heading up to Loomis for Mountain County's workshop. We've got a special board meeting on Thursday, and at this point in time, I'm attending Tuolumne County Water Policy Advisory meeting at the end of the week. So lots going on for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Any staff reports? Okay, we all good there? All right. Again, thank you, Steve, for your report during the board meeting. Appreciate that, and all the background stuff. Good. Okay, directors. Who would like to go first? Well, I'll take a stab at it. I saw your hand go up, Director Ringen, but I think I just scooted in. First of all, I wanted to thank especially Lisa Westbrook for orchestrating and doing a yeoman's job at the groundbreaking. I really appreciate that. All the signing, all the little sandwich boards or wayfinding, and then plus the awning and the displays, all that takes time and coordination and preparing for rain if that was what was going to happen. And so, Lisa, thank you so much. That was really first class. Appreciate that. And the shovels and the shovel crew, that was really good. And that was nice, some good coverage that we got on that as well. So very much appreciated. So thank you again, Lisa Westbrook, for all your help on that. On the 14th, we discussed the communication firms. 3 board members were present, and that was pretty interesting to see how we compared our lists, and we were pretty spot on there. So that was a really good discussion, and we'll move forward with that. Then on tomorrow is, as Don had mentioned, the mountain counties. I would really encourage everybody, if you haven't been to a mountain counties, it's, I think, part of why we are elected, if we can attend. The topic for the discussion, and Sierra Nevada Conservancy retired Executive Director Jim Branham, who gives us lots of IRWM grant money in the past, he will be putting on the presentation panel discussion on drought, fire, and changing climate. Mountain Counties has always been in the vanguard to make sure that climate change issues get in our legislation, and as well as Association for California Water Agency. So it's going to be, again, drought, fire, and changing climate. Where do we go from here? And that'll be tomorrow. So that's all I have to report. So Director Ringen, you're next.
Okay, thank you. 10:14, the TUD special board meeting, you've already covered that, President Balin, so I won't reiterate. That was the PR firms for an interview, being picked for the interviews. 10:18, special board meeting for groundbreaking. You already covered that. That was great. 10:20, GM Perkins covered this, and that was the T-Stan Irwin. I attended the WAC and the JPA meetings. The only thing I will add to that is that, yes, Gadiel, one of our engineers, turned out a really, really great report on what's going on out there. And it turned to a situation where there was a lot of talk about trying to find grant monies to bring that to 100% conclusion. So even though I've been talking about it for a long time at the T-Stan Irwin meetings, it's got some, I believe, legs now, and they're going to be beating the bushes for some money. Let's put it that way. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Director Murphy, please.
Yeah, I'll just tag on to that last bit that Ron was talking about. I also was at the T-Stan Irwin WAC and JPA meetings this month, and yeah, and that was an exciting piece. Was John Buckley from CSERC asked if that should be a focus for the T-Stan Irwin going forward, to look for grant funding, if that should be a priority. And as Ron said, that it seemed to be of interest to many, both from the perspective of from the perspective of drought preparedness, came up as well. Other thing this month was the hydroclimate annual meeting. It usually takes place in Yosemite. This was completely online. It's where people who are studying the hydrology and climate of the Sierra Nevadas all do their yearly report out on the research. And so two things that were of special interest in that, quite a few talks about the atmospheric river and possibilities for the future of how that's going to affect our Central Sierras. Also, another thing that they brought up that was kind of new this go round, I go to this every year, and kind of new, was this talk of the difference between a landscape drought and a reservoir drought. And just a quick thing on that, it's the difference between soil moisture and runoff. And so one thing that was really great about having just attended that and then witnessing this last storm, great thing about this last storm, that we may not think is great, but it actually is for soil moisture, is that we got the rain first and then the snow. So we really got that soil saturated before we got the snowpack on it, which means when the snowpack melts off, we will get runoff. One of the things that they were bringing up is if you get the snow first, without the soil getting saturated, it's harder to predict what that runoff is going to be because so much of it has to go into the soil before you get runoff. So that was an interesting thing to have just been talking about right before this storm that then ended up being starting out a warm storm, but before it turned cooler. Other thing later today, Trevor is going to be doing a special tour for the water infrastructure course from Columbia College out at Sonora water treatment plant. And so I'll be joining them on that in just a couple of hours. So that's an exciting thing for today. And Don, thank you for helping set that up.
You're very welcome. Happy to show off our facilities.
Okay, Jeff is next, and then Director Boatright.
Yeah, thank you, President Balin. Yeah, I too, President Balin, it was very interesting that the three of us came up with very similar lists on that special board meeting for our PR firms when we were choosing that. That was very, I enjoyed that meeting. That was a good one. Also, I would also like to express my thanks and congratulations to Lisa Westbrook as well, and the rest of the staff that participated on the special board meeting on the 18th. Eric and Don, you both did a great job, President Balin, with your comments. It was awesome. I think we got the desired effect with the local media, and I'm going to miss that meeting tomorrow. I'm very sorry. I'm kind of housebound at the current time, but I know that we'll be very well represented up there, and I hope you all enjoy it. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Kearns. Director Boatright.
Yeah, I just wanted to, add mine in there too. All the accolades for staff for the groundbreaking ceremony. Thank you very much. And then just clarification for schedule for the remainder of the week. We have a meeting on Thursday, is that correct? As well as the go to the IRWIP meeting tomorrow. Is that?
Mountain Counties is tomorrow, and then Thursday is our regularly monthly closed session meeting for PG&E. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David. And Director Ringen.
This is to Director Kearns. Would you like me to, if they have any handouts and stuff, pick you up whatever they've got and bring them to you?
Sure, that'd be great, Ron. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. A lot of times they have good informational stuff that they hand out, or they don't hand it out, but it's there on the table. And I know I always grab it, and it gives me a chance to come home and absorb what had been said. And because there it is in writing, and I can do it over a cup of coffee or two. And anyway, I will try and do that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very disappointed I'm not going to be able to make it, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't make it either, because those meetings, as you well know, are phenomenal, and we got some excellent speakers that are going to be there, and we're going to be learning about that forest project that President Balin knows who the group is up north, a little up north of us, that they did to protect their watershed. So anyway, it should be really good. Sorry you can't come.
Thank you. Yeah, always good ideas for sure floating around Opportunity Network. And a lot of those folks have been partnering with the tribal communities, their environmental communities, looking at the whole spectrum of drought to climate change to regulatory drought to real drought, above and below rim dams, et cetera. So it's, these are all great ideas if we keep them in mind, and hopefully when we turn the corner for this year, we can all bring these ideas back for a board workshop on sustainability, and we can actually solidify this as actually full-blown direction from the board, which staff then can keep in mind in their activity. So I'm really looking forward to a workshop with all of us together, bringing these ideas forth. So with that, is there any further comments before we recess and reconvene in closed session? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Oh, Director Ringen.
Just was hoping maybe we could get 5 minutes or so after we get in the room.
Certainly. Is 5 minutes enough time? Is 5 okay with 10? Would you like 10, David? Okay, 10, Lisa, great. So let me see, we will reconvene in closed session. Well, we'll go into closed session and then we will, I'll start it at 11 o'clock. And that
Director
will
Balin,
be, yes.
who will be going in closed session for this
I
one
was just
today?
gonna, okay, it'll be the board, it'll be Jesse, and it'll be Dawn.
Got it. Okay.
And the item is closed session, A, public employee appointment title, general manager.
And Abby too. And thank you for reading that. Thank you, Lisa. And Abby as well, Corey.
Okay. We'll
Okay,
be moving you in just one moment.
I believe we are all here. Let me count. Yes, I believe we're all here. Okay, great. Okay. So at this time, I would like to reconvene back into open session. And I would like to report out that the board has reportable action. We are pleased to report out of closed session that the Tuolumne Utilities District Board of Directors has offered Don Perkins the position of General Manager. Don Perkins has accepted the board's offer. The item before us is to consider approval of the General Manager Employment Agreement, and I will read that. I will summarize that, the agreement. Okay, the board has copies of the employment agreement, and at this time, I will provide an overview of the agreement terms. Mr. Perkins' appointment is effective immediately for a contract term of 5 years. The first year base annual salary will be $190,000. Don will continue receiving the same benefits with respect to medical, dental, vision, and life insurance like other employees of the district. Don will continue to receive vacation and sick leave accruals, holidays, and administrative leave, and retirement benefits like other similarly situated TUD employees based on his years of service. The board will evaluate the general manager's performance annually based on the performance compensation factors in Exhibit A of the contract and determine any performance-based compensation increases. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Thank you. Are there any comments from any member of the public? Corey?
Not that I'm seeing at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion, is there a motion by the board to approve the general manager employment agreement with Don Perkins?
I make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll make that second.
Thank you, Director Kearns. Any further discussion? Thank you. Seeing none, Lisa, would you please call for the vote?
Lisa is currently not in the room at the moment.
Okay.
I'm happy
If
to call
Abby
for
would
the
like
vote.
to step in.
I'm happy to call for the vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
No?
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes,
Okay, the agreement is passed 4-1.
Thank
Do I
you.
need to, do we need to read through anything further? Jesse, I'm sorry. Okay.
Open session, it's all disclosed automatic.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And General Manager Don Perkins, I want to thank you very much for taking on this responsibility. Thank you.
But I must say thank you also. I know you all have been through an enormous amount of work on all different fronts, and this being one of them. So I appreciate the hard work you've put in to this appointment. I am very humbly happy that I've been selected. I can promise you I'm going to work very hard to do the job that is before me. I can also tell you with every ounce of confidence in me that you have an amazing staff at TUD. I know almost all of them by first names, except for maybe the last 2 or 3 that have been hired in the last few weeks. Earlier, Director Boatright, Director Kearns, you had remarked about how professional and courteous you recognize our staff is, and I need to tell you that is through intentional leadership. With the help of Abby and the other superintendents over the years, we've worked into every part of the recruitment process, from the recruitment to the interviews to offering positions and through performance evaluations, that we will lead in a manner that fosters a work environment that's professional, courteous, respectful, is free of insubordination, dishonesty, and harassment of any kind. We're very intentional with that. And I know we've taken on some new employees here lately, so we'll need to continually to monitor this so that it doesn't slip. But anyway, I am very pleased and happy. And I, like I said, I work hard for you. I respond well to constructive criticism, so don't feel bashful. I don't think you will about, contacting me and letting me know, how things are going. So I thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. And if there's no further discussion, I do want a last word here, if that's permit me. And that is, I really want to thank Jesse Barton for stepping in and being at my elbow every second, it seemed like. I cannot thank you enough, Jesse, for making sure that we were by the book 100% as we were going through this process and as transparently as possible. So thank you, Jesse, very much. Appreciate it.
Very well. Always happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Balin? Wait, President Balin? This is Lisa. So I just started Granicus back on 2 minutes ago. So if you could please record out.
YouTube was already in.
Oh, again?
Yes, because it wasn't on Granicus, just so I have it on recording for Granicus.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. It's Groundhog Day here. Okay. So here we go. We are reporting out from closed session. You want me to do the whole thing?
That'd be great.
Okay. All right. So the board is reporting out. We are pleased to report out of closed session that the Tuolumne Utilities District Board of Directors has offered Donald Perkins, the position of General Manager. Don Perkins has accepted the board's offer. For consider approval of General Manager Employment Agreement, the board has copies of the employment agreement, and at this time, I will provide an overview of the agreement terms. Mr. Perkins' appointment is effective immediately for a contract term of 5 years. The first year base annual salary will be $190,000. Don will continue receiving the same benefits with respect to medical, dental, vision, and life insurance like other employees of the district. Don will continue to receive vacation and sick leave accruals, holidays and administrative leave, and retirement benefits like other similarly situated TUD employees based on his years of service. The board will evaluate the general manager's performance annually based on the performance compensation factors in Exhibit A of the contract and determine any performance-based compensation increases. And with that, are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none. Are there any comments from any member of the public? I will take that as a no, Corey. I will take that as a no. Then is there a motion by the board to approve the general manager employment agreement with Don Perkins? One moment, Jesse has his hand up. Go ahead. Hang on, Ron.
I was only going to ask, how much did Granicus miss? Do we have to do the vote again as well, Lisa? Let's just redo the vote then. I'm sorry. Just redo it. Director Ringen's made the first.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Abby, would you please call for the vote?
I'd be happy to. Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatwright,
Oh,
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, the agreement passes 4-1.
Thank you, Abby. And if there's no further discussion, and again, thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Jesse. If there's no further discussion, then I will conclude this board meeting at 11:27. Thank you.
all.
Congratulations, Don.
Thank you. We'll be
Have a
talking.
great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.